Local cops at Yamuna Vihar were heard warning the residents to not venture out on the streets. The cops have now announced they have received a shoot-at-sight order and they have advised the residents to stay indoors. This is the latest information that is coming in. The Delhi police now moving in swiftly to remove the protest sites, get rid of them, to warn the residents to not come out and take charge of the situation to curb violence and unrest in northeast Delhi. We've got some visuals and audio coming in. Let's listen into what the police is saying.
अनावश्यक रोडों पे नहीं आए, देखते ही गोली मारने के आदेश है। आप लोग घरों में रहें, रोड पे आके अनावश्यक रूप से पथराव न करें और मजबूरी इकट्ठा नहीं करें।
That's what's happening in the national capital as we speak, viewers. This is what the situation has come down to. After northeast Delhi burned for the third straight day, after rioters ran amok for the third straight day, after the police looked away for the third straight day and let the mob take over, after 11 lives were lost, 135 were injured, 100 vehicles were touched, hundreds of shops damaged and houses vandalized. This is what it has come down to. Alok is joining me live and he's been reporting for us non-stop. Alok, where are you right now? What's the situation on ground?
Well, Tanvi, I'm reporting from Jafrabad area, and in fact, this is one of those places from where the violence had started, and this area is still under tense. And if we talk about that combing is still going on in various parts of the Jafrabad area, and what we are getting to know that till late evening the violence was happening in various pockets of Jafrabad. Remember that various persons got injured in Jafrabad. Some of the deaths which we are reporting, that 11 deaths have already happened so far. Among them, that 2 deaths were happened in Jafrabad area as well. And definitely what we can say that on ground the situation is still very much tense, because the law and order which the police need to be in fact handled 2 days ago, they failed to do so, and this is the reason that that tension is still simmering in various parts of the northeast Delhi, whether it's Jafrabad, Karawal Nagar, Gokalpuri, Chandbagh area and other parts of the northeast Delhi. Although section 144 is imposed, a large number of police contingents are on the streets, marching on the street, but not happening very much in terms of what we can say that peace is restoring in these places.
All right. Well, there is hope. That situation has now begun to turn for the better, and perhaps, hopefully, tonight will be peaceful for the residents of Jafrabad and the nearby areas. Now, Alok has been there through the day, and here is one important report that I want to highlight. It's a little under 3 minutes, where it shows you what went on for the past 3 days. The question we're asking tonight, in the second hour of our special broadcast on the Urban Debate, is who is fanning the violence in the national capital? Now, while the Delhi police is now doing the job by asking the residents to stay indoors, not to resort to violence, that there will be strict action, they have been given orders to shoot at sight. Earlier in the day, the Delhi police is just looking the other way, where rioters and angry mob were grabbing hold of people and beating them mercilessly, and the Delhi police just wouldn't act. Take a look at the sequence.
अरे छोड़ दो यार, छोड़ दो. अरे यार मार देंगे उसको. अरे मार दोगे क्या? अरे छोड़ दो यार, मर जाएगा वो. अरे सर जाओ ना, सर जाओ ना, आगे जाओ ना सर. सर शॉट्स लेते रहो, सर जाओ ना, सर शॉट्स लो, सर जाओ आगे. सर लो ना, सर शॉट्स लो, शॉट्स लो ना. पुलिस जा रही है, छुड़ा रही है, सर शॉट्स लो. सर शॉट्स लो, सर शॉट्स लो. हाँ, और ले लो ना सर, पुलिस जो जा रही है छुड़ाने के लिए, वो भी लो ना. अरे यार पकड़ लिया, लड़के को मार दिया इतना ज्यादा. हाँ, पुलिस अब दौड़ा रही है. सर शॉट्स लेते रहेगा, रिकॉर्ड करते रहेगा सब कुछ. बेचारे का सर खोल दिया. अरे मारा. हाँ सर खुल गया उसका. सर अभी आएगा ये बाहर, पूरा शॉट्स लेना. सर आ रहा है ये बाहर, पूरा शॉट्स लो इसका आते हुए, जो भी बोल रहा है। सर इसको बाहर ले आओ, इलाज करवा दो, नहीं मार देंगे इसको। बेटा बाहर आ जा, बाहर। अरे अरे सर सर शॉर्ट्स लो, रिकॉर्ड। भाई कहां से हो भाई? उधर मत जाओ, उधर मत जाओ, उधर मत जाओ, उधर मत जाओ, इधर आओ, इधर। कहां से हो? कहां से हो? कहां से हो? हाँ बुरुजपुरी। कहाँ जाना है अब?
मुझे वहीं
तुम एक गाड़ी में बैठाओ, किसी गाड़ी में बैठ करके इसको निकाल दो यार। सर सर इन लोग के उधर मत जाना, उधर भी लड़के खड़े। ए नहीं 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 सर, मारो मत, मारो मत, मारो मत। जाओ 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 जाओ। सर इसको हॉस्पिटल में पहुंचा दो। सर इसको हॉस्पिटल पहुंचा दो, वहां पर लड़के और मारेंगे इसको। सर सर सर
In 2 minutes and 45 seconds, this telling sequence highlights what was going on the streets. Imagine the fear in that man's mind. Imagine the brazenness of this mob. Imagine the indifference of the police personnel or men in uniform, whoever were deployed there. Indifference that it took a reporter to repeatedly appeal to them to go in and save this man. Not just one instance, viewers. This is what happened multiple times in various parts of northeast Delhi. The questions were raised about what is it that the Delhi police were doing and why is it that these people were being allowed to run amok from both sides. I am at this point not making a comment on Delhi police showing bias towards one over the other. I am simply saying, were men in uniform, security personnel doing their job? Why did it have to be a reporter, Vinay, who had to go and appeal to the police personnel? And they still didn't do anything. This man runs out and then he's running left and right, helter-skelter. And there are police personnel standing all along that road. It's not their job, it's not their protocol. Who's supposed to help him?
Yeah, so there are three parts of this video, Tanvi, that shock me. And it tells me that there is something very seriously wrong with, I mean, whether it is lack of sensitivity, it is lack of training, or just simple disregard for what is pretty much their basic job. The first part of the sequence is this. When the man is actually being assaulted by a mob, with the constables and the other policemen standing barely 50 meters away because our reporter was right next to them. Yeah. So they are watching him being hit. There is no charge being done towards them. There is no baton charge, as they say in policing parlance. There is something called a baton charge, which means when the constables run on the road, they actually hit the baton on the road and create a noise which scares people off. It's a very
They're not even using the loudspeaker.
They're not even using the loudspeaker. They're not using their sirens. They're not using a baton charge to scare the mob away. Only when the reporter is repeatedly asking him, they are ambling up to him. If you see, they're just walking up. There is no urgency in actually rushing to get him out. Once they get him out, they just simply walk along with him for about another 10-15 meters or so, and then just they let him off, and he's bleeding. There is no effort being made to send him to a hospital. He's actually being made to run in a direction where there is another mob standing there, and the cops know that very, very well. And our reporter was right. He was trying to tell them that please don't let him run in that direction because he doesn't know there is another mob there and he probably got attacked there too. So I find these three things extremely worrying and extremely shocking on why is it that they just don't seem to be reacting to situations as they unfold. This was not a very difficult, and actually only after the reporter made a lot of noise and they realized that they were being caught on camera, did they start doing their petty charge. And if you see, the mob melted away within minutes.
Yes.
They just actually went away. So it wasn't very difficult to chase at least this section of the people. And remember, in riot control, Tanvi, these kind of cat and mouse games happen a lot. This is not something you can do once and it'll happen, it'll end. So this police has to keep doing this. They have to keep chasing people inside and they'll keep coming out. This carries on for a long time. So this is not something that they should find unusual or not something they weren't used to.
But the police can't look away. And the police definitely can't just stand by as mute spectators. Here is another walkthrough that I want to show you. Now, this is a report from earlier in the day where firefighting operations are going on in the tire market of Gokulpuri that was set ablaze last night. It was again attacked today. Shops were vandalized before they were set ablaze. Hundreds of shops gutted. Alok got us this report.
This is a little fortunate part that the fire engines managed to reach out here, and they are doing the dousing of operation. There you can see one of the fire tenders is still working on, and they are trying to douse off the fire. You can clearly see the smoke is coming out from inside various shops. This is complete market of the tires. Tires are in fact being sold from this place, and here you can see the smoke is still coming out. Complete tire market is destroyed. Vandalism also has happened. Lot of shops, those who were in fact working, these shops were first vandalized and then they were set on fire. So this is the kind of destruction. I would like to show you the vehicles that are damaged. This is one of the cars which is in fact toppled, and this is also being in fact torched. Another vehicle which is I think that it is a Santro car, that is also in fact torched. A lot of tires are still lying there because this is the second round of violence happened in this tire market. Remember, yesterday night, late night, the violence had happened in the tire market. People have torched this market. However, today also they came again. The stone pelters came again, and they again set this whole tire market on fire. So definitely this clearly tells the whole story, what's all had happened. There you can see the books are also lying over here. These are the papers, documents related to these shops that are also lying here. Not only that, I would like to show you the other sequence as well, the other side of this tire market. The smoke is still coming out. Here you can see the smoke is still there. My Vijay, Pradeep will show you that what extent of damage has happened at the tire market. Here you can see the main shops are also there. They are completely damaged and also vandalized. There the shops are also, it seems that they are ransacked also, looted also. These are the items which were kept inside the shops. They are also lying outside, and here the smoke is still coming out. The fire tenders are still trying to douse off the fires. Here you can see the fire operation is still going on. So definitely it tells the whole story that what extent of damage has been done. There you can see the visuals that fire tenders officials are working and they are dousing of the fire.
Let's go across to Ayushman as well. Ayushman, in fact, was through the day traveling from one point to the other. And Ayushman, you actually were not able to even stay at one point for too long, because then people would start questioning, asking you questions, who you are, where are you from, what was happening. They would push you back. And this was happening from all sides. You know, media was actually the other big target. And at many times, at many occasions, you didn't even find the police personnel stationed there.
Well, Tanvi, just to correct you, it was not people, they were mobs. They were all ready for a police deployment to move out from the place. If you remember, Tanvi, we made a call where you instructed us not to venture into those areas. Remember, the moment police left from the petrol pump, which was torched, right from that point, within next 3 minutes, we could see mobs surrounding us. And how it was done, whether it was a meticulous planning, that has to be seen by the Delhi police. But we saw this on one of the petrol pump. Also, Tanvi, the place where the tire market was torched, there also the mob instantly came where we were doing our live, and they made sure that we left the place. In fact, they wanted to delete all those footages which we had recorded. Fortunately, we could escape from there. Also, when we went outside towards the area of Gokulpuri, there was so many people, they were ready with sticks and helmets on, their face covered. They did not want us to shoot. And all through this, when we were traveling in and around in northeastern Delhi, we found that Delhi police was not present on ground. We could merely see them, their deployment out there. We were only asking the officials as to who are the concerned officials we can talk to. There was a point when one ASI was standing, and he also said that he does not feel very safe standing there. When we said that we are also standing here, you can stand here. After doing our live, we found that even he was not there present at that point of time. So this was the situation. Even the Delhi police personnel who were present on the spot or the barricading points, they were also not clear as to what instructions they have to follow. Tanvi, we went to the point where the borders of Delhi and UP are there, and even at that point also, the approach of Delhi police was not very much positive. At a point when violence is there in the very close section of that periphery, the kind of response that could have been there, that was clearly not visible on ground.
And that's what the question needs to be asked of the Delhi police. Why is it that the Delhi police moved in so slowly? Why is it the Delhi police didn't call in for additional troops if that was the requirement? How is it that they let these rioters run amok for 3 straight days? Who is fanning the violence? That's the big question. Ayushman and Alok, thanks so much for joining us and constantly, bringing us updates now through the day since 7 a.m. Even before we could spot some of the Delhi police personnel in those locations, our reporters were present and they're there still till now. Let's also say good evening to Yashovardhan Azad, former IPS officer, A.L. Banerjee, former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist, Deeptiman Tiwari, assistant editor with the Indian Express, and Vinay Tiwari, our managing editor of Mirror Now, stays on with us. Mr. Azad, I want to begin with you and ask you what your view is. I've made it very clear that I have many questions of the Delhi police, but in your own expertise, when there is a situation like this, what should they have done? Did they do their job right?
Well, this is how a classic communal conflagration plays out. And you see this case, the capital should have been secured a little more firmly, especially on the eve of President Trump's visit. And knowing that the pro-CA protesters were also planning to set up more platforms in various areas of Delhi, and also there was opposition which was coming. What happens is that in such communal situations, unless you play a very heavy hand right in the beginning, and Mr. Banerjee will agree with me that we were taught in our training schools that in communal situations, you just use the maximum force. This is where the Delhi police hesitated right in the beginning. But this is not only a story of Delhi police in action. For a full-blooded communal conflagration which takes place, you need a lot of boots on ground. And let me tell you, the cases which you are showing me right now, even if you put the police detachment in small numbers in these areas, they're going to be overawed. See the nature of injuries, the pellet injuries. Most of the injuries are not by the police because they have hardly fired. They will fire now after a curfew has been imposed in various areas. So my description of the entire situation is that it's a classical tale. Right in the beginning, if a heavy hand would have been used, then the situation would not have come to this stage. Even now, the most important thing is to use the heaviest hand to control. And I'm a little disappointed by some of the politicians, appealing to this segment and appealing to that segment. Remember, when a situation like this occurs, all the good people become irrelevant. It's only the force which helps. And after you take action, then only the peace committees take over. Another point which I must mention is that Delhi police has been found very lacking to tackle this situation on such a big scale. I mean, on the eve of Trump's visit, when the capital had to be secured, all these 35 battalions should have been called earlier because Delhi was the nerve center when all this was happening. And I'm sure the intelligence had all this information. In fact, 2 days earlier, there were processions going on at night by the anti-CA protesters, and there was opposition by those who were pro-CA. And therefore, the situation was building up, and there was enough time. So but on the other hand, I would also say that this kind of planning, this kind of the nature of injustice show you how prepared the mob was. The mob would overawe the police force. You have a head constable dying. You have a DCP injured in hospital. And therefore, that hesitation in the beginning has cost them heavily. And if they would have used a heavy hand, which they need to do now even, they should, if curfew has been imposed, if they shoot to kill and bring the situation in hand, at least if one area as a model is brought under control, that will send the right message to other areas. And let me tell you the last point, even 4,000 boots are not enough. Because there are many areas, as you have shown, and your reporters have done a wonderful job, you need more force to control the area.
Is that possibly the reason, Mr. Banerjee, that we see that those who are even there on ground are not doing too much because they're not equipped, they don't have the necessary powers, and they're not enough number of them?
No, they have enough power, but what Mr. Azad says, I completely agree with him. Obviously, here is a case, here is a test case, in fact, where immense amount of force should have initially been applied. Absolutely, at the first stage itself. Today is the third day. Curfew should have been imposed on the first day when the police was overawed. You had a DCP. I heard that message, wireless message between the DCP's security orderly and the control room where said, "Sahab ki gaadi jala di gayi hai." It means Sahab was either inside or somewhere near the gaadi. And after that, we hear that the DCP is in the hospital. That is the time when the police should have realized, the commissioner of police should have realized, or whoever is giving the orders, because here that curfew has to be imposed. At that particular moment, I heard somebody say from the police that they had 15 companies at one particular point. 15 companies is, each company is about 100 people. You can imagine the kind of force that was available at that particular point. Had they decided to do something about it decisively, they could have done it. They didn't. I put this blame squarely on the Commissioner of Police. There was an absolute lack of leadership. And when did it develop? It developed on the day the men and women of the Delhi police went on a strike in front of the Delhi Police Commissioner's office, and the Delhi Police Commissioner did not even turn up to talk to his people. That is the time when things started going awry for this particular force, unfortunately. And this has shown up in this in whatever has happened in the Northeastern District. Northeastern District is a large, well-populated, thickly populated area. And as Mr. Azad quite very correctly says, they should have been dealt instantly. I'm amazed. You showed me a clip where a couple of cops are just walking across to a guy who's being hit. Here is a cognizable case, a cognizable offense taking right in front of you. You say that we don't have the power. We have the power. In fact, if one of the guys had shot one of those people who were beating up the guy, it wouldn't have made a difference. It would have been absolutely right as far as the law was concerned. The law says that if property or life is in jeopardy, you can fire. Why did we fire? Why hasn't the police fired as yet? That surprises me. One or two incidences, and maybe things could have been helped. Things could have been controlled, but it has not happened. So here is the situation. And thirdly, this is the national capital. Remember one thing. There is a national security perspective which flows out of this.
Yes.
What happens? This, as Mr. Azad said very clearly, is a pre-planned thing. The kind of planning that was available is phenomenal. We have to wake up. This is absolutely a wake-up call for not only the Delhi police, but the security agencies all across India.
Well, I just want to also play out a comment that we got, and this is something that we've highlighted earlier as well. The police commissioner didn't come out to speak to us. Not today, not yesterday, not day before. Neither did any of the senior officials. We got a couple of them, on ground when they came out today, yes. But it was actually MS Randhawa, the PRO of Delhi Police, who was the only one who came out today to address the media. And even then, there were no clear, set of information that was shared with us on what action has been taken, why wasn't earlier action taken. All he said was that we decided our deployment on the basis of the information we got. Just listen in.
नॉर्थ ईस्ट डिस्ट्रिक्ट में सफिशेंट फोर्स डिप्लॉय की गई है और कुछ क्वार्टर्स में ये खबर थी कि जो फोर्स है उसकी कमी है. इसको बिल्कुल हम खंडन करते हैं, डिनाई करते हैं. सफिशेंट फोर्स डिप्लॉय की गई है उसके अलावा MHA से जो एडिशनल फोर्स भी हमें मिली है उसको भी डिप्लॉय कर रहे हैं। और जो मेन इसका कारण रहा है वो काफ़ी कंजेस्टेड एरिया है, मिक्स्ड पॉपुलेशन है और कुछ जगह पे इंसिडेंट्स हुए हैं। जैसे जब तक पुलिस ने रिस्पॉन्ड किया उससे पहले कुछ एंटी सोशल एलिमेंट्स ने कुछ इंसिडेंट्स किए, लेकिन पुलिस उनको रिस्पॉन्ड कर रही है। कल भी रिस्पॉन्ड किया और आज भी उनको हम रिस्पॉन्ड कर रहे हैं।
Deeptiman, what's the sense that you've been getting and what your reporters have been saying? Why is it that the Delhi police did not really act for these 3 or 4 days? We still don't have any clarity of whether there was in one specific part a shoot at sight order or not. But for the first 3 days, they've not taken any action. Is this restraint purely because there was an international dignitary in the city?
Whether what police has done, why police has failed to do, this should be a matter of investigation. But let's just go back to what the PRO was saying. He said that the reports of forces being inadequate is completely false, and we have adequate forces at our disposal. Now, if a police force says that it has adequate forces at its disposal, and yet it has failed to control riots which have continued for 3 days and claimed 11 lives, and so many injuries, then it goes to say that our leadership is completely incompetent. Let's remember that all central forces which are given to any state police or any union territory police are at the disposal of the local DCP. They follow the command of the local SP or the DCP. So if the Delhi police is saying that we had adequate forces and yet we have been unable to control riots for 3 days, then you have been completely incompetent. Either you've been incompetent or you have deliberately not acted. Which of them is true is something that must be investigated.
Vinay, what's your own view on this? Before I go across to Gautam Mukherjee also, the fact that we are now perhaps seeing a lot more action and at least some acknowledgement and activity by the Delhi police as we come closer to the point of President Trump leaving. Did they wait for this time just to ensure that it doesn't get out of control? So far, it's been contained in just those few parts.
So there are just 2 points I wanted to make. One to add to what Deeptiman said, and on one slightly separate, which is this. Mr. Donald Trump arrived in the national capital yesterday night. The trouble in Northeast Delhi had started on Saturday evening.
Yes.
The Delhi police had plenty of time to do exactly what Mr. Yashovardhan Azad said, which is this, that the first sign that you see of an impending trouble, you need to move in, and you need to move in hard, and you need to move in without any fear of favor, because that's the easiest and the best way to prevent a conflagration from going up. That is part A. Part B, we have 2 very seasoned professionals who've led police forces in the past, so they understand this better. We've been observers of what police does on the ground, and I can tell you purely from observation, and I'm sure they'll bear me out on this, is this. Delhi police on a comparative grid has specialized units precisely for the kind of things that have happened in Northeast district, which is actually now 2 districts. Shadra and Northeast are 2 separate districts, which was not the case 5 years ago. Is the most sensitive district of Delhi amongst the 15 districts of Delhi police. It's classified as a sensitive district. Delhi police has a special branch division whose job is to gather local intelligence. It even has a designation called the ACP Communal, whose sole job of his plainclothesmen is to actually keep a track of what kind of activities are happening. And I can tell you from personal experience, when we were in the field, special branch deploys more people in Northeast district than in other districts. Part of Southeast district and Northeast district have a heavy deployment of special branch. It's a specialized job that they're given. Now, to imagine that for a day and a half, they knew very well that Mr. Trump is coming to town. It's not the kind of advertisement you need when you have the world's press landing at your doorstep. Clearly, it could have been contained then. I completely agree with Deeptiman, and we've seen commissioners, I mean, at least I've seen them from Nikhil Kumar onwards in Delhi police, and I can tell you, this is one of the most inept, indecisive, hesitant, and I would say courage-lacking leadership that I've seen in a long, long time. We've seen Delhi, this is the 5th riot that's happened in Delhi in the last 2.5 months. Either you've seen too much force being used when there was no need for it possibly, or we've seen absolutely no force being used like it happened in JNU where they just stood by and watched the fun, or you've seen in Northeast district where they seem to be watching but not proactively reacting. I also completely dismiss any such, and I'm glad that MS Randhawa came out and kind of self-indicted himself, as Dityaman said, by
For
saying
lack of
that we
forces.
have plenty of forces available, because that is the truth.
Yes.
Delhi police is the most well endowed. They have plenty of CP reserves, RAF, CRPF. One phone call to the MHA will get them 20 companies in an hour.
Yes.
It's not very difficult to get additional forces should you require.
Okay, I think Mr. Azad wants to respond to the point that you made about the police commissioner. I know many senior journalists and even crime reporters have a similar view to what you do, Vinay, from the experience of covering this police force. Mr. Azad, do you disagree?
No, I think Vinay Kumar made a very good point. You know, at a time like this, I was surprised to see that Home Secretary is talking about law and order sitting from his office in North Block, and Mr. Randhawa is coming and saying we have sufficient force or not. You know, it gives the confidence to the public of Delhi that a man like police commissioner should take control when a situation of this kind has developed in Delhi. And he's very right. There have been earlier commissioners of great stature who have controlled situations like this coming in the front. In fact, I've always maintained that an office like Delhi commissioner should have a much more open profile, so that he is available, he can talk to the public on various issues. And my God, in a situation like this, he should come both morning and in the afternoon. In that respect, definitely there has been a failure. My second point is this, that definitely you are right when you say that now, after the initial hesitation, the Delhi police was playing it safe, maybe on some direction, because Mr. Trump is here and it will be a delicate situation with casualties or whatever. But you have to weigh the damage which is being caused against what you're trying to protect. If 100 vehicles are burnt and 150 people are in the hospital, it's like a warlike situation, and the mob is absolutely overawing even the police. I don't know what has happened to those vehicles, those Vajra vehicles or those Bakhtarband gaadiyan jiske baare mein wo baat karte hain. Why should, because if you don't use them, if you don't use the firepower now, you will never be able to control, because even now, as you're reporting, the situation is not really under control. And I don't know what is happening on the impact of the curfew, whether it has led to a better situation.
Actually, I don't even know in how many parts there is a curfew. There's been a little bit of confusion. Section 144 in all of these areas, yes, they said they are going to impose curfew in 3 parts, and they said, well, section 144 is already there. There is a shoot outside order. No, there is no shoot outside order. There's a lot of confusion.
Two things I just wanted to add, because Mr. Azad makes a very important point, and this kind of a point can come from a professional. A police forces, it's also a psychological thing. When you're dealing with a mob, it's psychological as well. The police has to show area domination, as all police officers use that word in their parlance. And area domination is also visual. It's not just behind the scenes on a paper, it's visual.
It can't be one
None
with
of
a
our
lathi.
reporters have seen the Vajra vehicle, and Delhi police had lots of Vajra vehicles on the In fact, at least 6 to 8 Vajra vehicles are permanently parked on Parliament Street round the clock, 365 days a year.
Yes.
Because they expect crowds to come there. Delhi police has specialized SWAT units. Just the sight of a SWAT unit is scary. I'm not saying you needed the SWAT here, because that's a very specialized unit, but the way they're kitted and geared, it just presents an image of a police force in command. You need to display your best and you're most armed in a situation like this just for visual effect, and it has a role to play. The sight that you see currently is of a lot of policemen actually sometimes not even having a weapon in their hand, patrolling the street in the face of a very hostile mob. And I don't think this was good leadership. He's very right. I think the display of vehicles and other things should have been made visually available in that part, because it sends one confidence message, and it also acts as a deterrent to people who otherwise feel emboldened to come out and take the law in its own hands.
Mr. Gautam Mukherjee, isn't it then fair to ask who is fanning this violence for 4 straight days? And, you know, everybody disagrees that Delhi police has fallen short on performing its duty.
Well, one thing that occurs to me, and it possibly occurs to others, is there is unanimity on something, which is that the police should be cracking down. Now, if you go back a few days, even at the beginning of this event around Jafrabad, it was all about CAA and protesting and peaceful protest and so on. Either there was an intelligence failure, or it was deliberately ramped up, including all the preparation that the senior policemen have referred to. in order to create a spectacle in the period that Trump was going to be in Delhi. Trump sidestepped the whole thing beautifully, and now we have everybody wanting shoot at sight orders and Vajra vehicles and all the rest of it. So some good has come out of this, because had this been done in anticipation, it would be a communal government going after simple, unarmed people.
Yeah, but why would,
So
Mr.
I
Gautam
think
Mukherjee, we have
there is
shoot at sight orders for a peaceful protest?
No, the point is, if there are shoot at sight orders now, it is receiving a lot of support from the public. That is the point I'm making.
No. So, okay,
to just blame the police is I think out of order.
Just to clarify, because I think Mr. Banerjee and Mr. Yashodhan Azad are the two experts who can answer this question very well. Please see the unprofessionalism. There is a video that we have of a police officer on a megaphone telling the people right now, just about a couple of hours back, where he's telling people that there is a shoot inside order, please get inside your houses. So this is what they're announcing in that area. And now you have an official clarification that has come from the PRO who says there is no shoot inside an order. Now, I don't know whether normally in policing is our officers told just go and tell people shoot inside just for effect. I'm not sure of that, but that's one reason why it's creating confusion. Officially, they've denied it. There is no shoot outside order.
Yes, Mr. Mukherjee, go ahead. Finish your point, though. Yes.
You see,
yeah, well, I think that now, Jafrabad, the road apparently has already been cleared this evening, around about 9 o'clock onwards, just as Trump was winding up his visit. To clear Shaheen Bagh and so forth is not a professional issue at all for the police and all those other auxiliary sort of armed police and so forth that exist in Delhi and in fact around the country. But the point is that you need public support for this whole business, which is meant to be against CAA, and now everybody calls it a communal, a communal riot. It's been a communal riot in cahoots all along for the last 3 months. And everybody, at least amongst the liberal left intelligentsia, has gone along with it and says this is the right to protest. So what if they're blocking a road? And now everybody wants something done right now. And why wasn't it done 3 days ago?
Well, firstly, I just want to say that I'm not one of those who's demanding and campaigning for a shoot at sight order. I'm simply asking a question of what is it that the Delhi police should be doing at this point of time. It's been 4 straight days and lives have been lost, homes and property destroyed. People are living in fear over there. Media has been attacked. And I don't think in any national capital of any democracy this should be acceptable. But Deeptiman, is it fair to connect this to the protests that we've seen in the last 60 days? People, objected and complained so much about traffic. Shouldn't the same people now be at least complaining and questioning about the violence that we've seen in 4 days and the stone pelting and the gun shooting?
Okay, now
is that for me?
Let us first differentiate between a communal riot and a protest. Here, there are people being surrounded and beaten with sticks, and there is heavy stone pelting being done. One policeman has died and 10 more people have died. I don't know how much this death toll is going to increase. This is a full-fledged communal riot. Now to call Shaheen Bagh protests a communal riot is slightly is way too exaggerated. In a democracy, people have a right to peacefully protest. If crowds turn violent, the state, the police machinery has a right to act, and it must act to bring order and peace. So to compare this with Shaheen Bagh is, I think, slightly out of place and unfair as well.
Absolutely.
Having said that, let's see what has been happening from right from the Ministry of Home Affairs to Delhi Police. Yesterday, Minister of State for Home, G. Kishan Reddy, he made a statement while he was in Hyderabad from the BJP office. And he said that all of this has been orchestrated to coincide with the visit of Donald Trump, and that Rahul Gandhi must answer. Today, the Home Minister has held a series of meetings. One of them was with Arvind Kejriwal and Delhi LG and representatives of various political parties in Delhi. And a statement issued by the Ministry of Home Affairs said that these are spontaneous violence. Now it appears that the government is, what kind of information is the government receiving from Delhi police? What is the assessment by the Intelligence Bureau? There is so much of confusion, as it was just revealed that the police is announcing that there is shoot at sight order, and the police is denying that there is any curfew shoot at sight order officially. So there is so much of confusion that the right kind of, as it was just said, that during such kind of situations, the right kind of messaging is very, very important. Right kind of messaging that the police is in control. It must visually be seen that it is in control of the situation, and it should send the right kind of messages that there is a single command, there is complete clarity of thought, and whatever is being said is going to be followed.
Right.
So under these kind of different commands and different statements, one does not know where the leadership stands.
Yes, and if this was a pre-planned conspiracy, as the MOS Home told us multiple times yesterday, then Mr. A.L. Banerjee, shouldn't the police have acted sooner? Knowing very well that yesterday President Trump was to arrive in the national capital in the night, if this was a pre-planned conspiracy, what happened to all that intelligence and action on that intelligence?
The point is that, as I had earlier said during the program, on the first day itself, the police should have been very heavy-handed. They have not been. Where are the pellet guns? CRPF has those pellet guns. Why not use them? If you don't use firearms, at least they could have been brought here, like the Vajra vehicles which are lying unused or probably lying somewhere else. Pellet guns could have been used. And as you said, that there were two announcements. One, you showed a police officer saying that there are shoot at sight orders. The other, the PRO of the Delhi police denying anything of this kind. Now, this shows there's a complete lack of coordination. The leader of the force should be seen, should be heard, should be on ground. This is a time not to be inside the office, but come out on the field and show and be in front of the people and be in front of your forces. So this is what is happening. As far as the intelligence is concerned, obviously there would have been intelligence. Otherwise, why would a DCP be standing with 15 companies of force in a particular place? And to connect it with Shaheen Bagh, probably, you see, the whole thing started when some ladies from that area, they tried to create another Shaheen Bagh-like situation there by blocking an area where the metro stations were closed. As a result, the other party came up. But it has resulted in a communal conflagration, which is very, very serious. It has to be taken up as a communal situation. And it is high time the government thought what to do about it. If you ask me, I would suggest, if you are very serious about the whole thing, that this should not be repeated, form an SIT, institute the cases, prosecute them, and ensure a trial within 1 year. Within 1 year, let there be fast-track courts, not one, many, and ensure that there is punishment. Until and unless you swiftly and certainly punish these people, you're bound to repeat this mistake again and again.
Vinay, closing comments from you as well on what we've seen and where we need to go from here.
Well, we certainly need better leadership. Delhi is way too important a city to be put in the hands of somebody who cannot take decisions or can't be seen to be taking decisions. I completely agree with Mr. Banerjee. You need to be seen. A leader, a force needs a leader, and the leader needs to be present. And I think that modern police forces need to understand the importance of communication. Shutting up and sending somebody else to talk on behalf, and this is the second time I've seen this, when there was a mini revolt in the Delhi police, when everybody sat outside the headquarters not willing to join the force. course, even then I saw a lack of leadership where there was no communication from the topmost officer who came very reluctantly. That's not the best leadership on display. It happened in full public camera. And probably one of the worst things I've seen in Delhi police when the lawyers' violence happened. So we need better leadership. Delhi is way too important a state, a national capital. We need firmer decision making because this was preventable in my book. Of course, the riots could have happened, but the extent of it could have been prevented for sure. And I think certainly we need a more decisive backing by the government in ensuring that you deal with mobsters and rioters with an equal hand, irrespective of which side of the divide they stand. Because ultimately, when 13 deaths have happened, like they've just been reported, 13 people have now died in this incident. It just makes it one of the worst things that have ever happened in the capital in possibly the last 3 decades. Not a good advertisement at all.
And I'm just trying to understand, and maybe we'll never know, or maybe we will in a few days. Why is it the government has taken, has dealt with it the way it has? This can't look good for the government at a time when President Trump is here. Perhaps stricter action or demand or faster reaction from the government that controls the Delhi police. I don't know. Maybe they thought that this was a better way to go ahead. Or had the police reacted, it could have gotten worse. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out in the coming days. Mr. Azad wanted to make a point. Go ahead, please, before we wrap this up.
You know, Tanvi, in the conference which President Trump had at 5 o'clock, a reporter asked the most powerful man in the world, President Trump, that how has he posted an officer at an intelligence post who has no intelligence experience at all. Unfortunately, in our country, such questions are never asked. There are many appointed to many senior positions who don't have the merit and who don't have the caliber. And this happens from all political parties in security and intelligence organizations. And therefore, what Mr. Kumar said, having the right man for the right job is extremely critical. Secondly, operationally also, it is required by the Delhi police that all the weaponry, all the forces they have at command, at least now they should display. And the third thing is that people should also be a little appreciative of the police also and not keep criticizing it all the time because it really downgrades their morale. And now that everything has happened, imposing a curfew is very difficult because people really don't get to know you. And therefore, it is important that this thing also should be clarified.
No, in fact, I will say it one more time, Mr. Azad. I've said it multiple times tonight as well. And Vinay has said that this is actually one of the most well-trained and the best police force that we have in our country, which is why he is so angry and frustrated tonight with the way they've handled the situation. I have now on multiple accounts said that I'm not even blaming a single Delhi police personnel. It's not the troops on ground who are to be blamed or to question. It's the instructions that are given to them and the leadership that leads them who should be asked questions and who should be, made accountable at this point of time. I'm completely out of time. I'm going to thank all of our panelists for joining us. But before we wrap out, I believe we've got a reaction coming in from the Delhi police. Let's listen in.
Protesters have left the Jafrabad metro station and the Mojpur Chowk is also clear. Now this road, 66-footer road, is absolutely clear of all protests and all activity. Thank you.
हिंदी में बोल दीजिए सर। हाँ सर।
जो प्रोटेस्टर्स जाफराबाद मेट्रो स्टेशन पे बैठे हुए थे उन्होंने वहाँ से वो चले गए हैं और अब मौजपुर चौक पे भी कोई गैदरिंग नहीं है। अब ये जो रोड है 66 फुटा रोड जो है ये एकदम क्लियर है।
सर शांति है नॉर्थ ईस्ट दिल्ली में, सर नॉर्थ ईस्ट दिल्ली में शांति है सर पूरी? अभी
हम सब जगह होके आ रहे हैं और सिचुएशन अंडर कंट्रोल है।
थैंक यू। साइड का भी कुछ ऑर्डर की बात
The situation is under control now. We've also vacated few sites where protesters had gathered. Perhaps tonight, the residents of Northeast Delhi will finally get some sleep, some peace, and perhaps tomorrow we will not have to bring you more reports of violence. That's the hope. That being said, and the question that we've asked of the Delhi police, we will continue to ask. But I just want to leave you all with this thought. These are the thoughts that I have in my head. We've reached this point, viewers, because simple conversations have turned wild and divisive, because politicians have cashed in on our differences, because a peaceful protest was converted into a political debate, and then day after day after day, social media and WhatsApp and others added fuel to this fire. We've reached this point where two groups, when they came for each other, no one stopped them. Everyone just took sides and let Northeast Delhi burn. This isn't our democracy. This shouldn't be our society, not in 2020, where people are questioned on their religion, where people are asked to prove their religion to save their lives, and mobs target the other side, abuse, kick and thrash them with hate-filled sentences, where the police looks the other way. I don't know why. Some of the visuals that we will not run on the channel because they are so provocative and disturbing would have made you shiver, would have made you cringe. And it's depressing, distressing to know what's going on. I don't know how any of us can have a peaceful night of sleep knowing that in a part of our country, people were living in fear for the last 4 days in the national capital. And the rioters on the streets had no fear. So we need to step back from here and we need to stop before the social fabric completely gets torn, before the cracks get so deep that it becomes difficult to fill them up. Let's rise above our thoughts, our views, opinions and politics and understand that violence can never be the solution. Thank you for joining us.